So it looks like we have a war brewing between the two spring football leagues, those being the USFL, which is going to make its return in April this offseason, while the XFL will return next year in 2023 for their reboot season, whatever you want to call it. But there's already some controversy between these two teams. In the same week that the XFL announced that they were going to be doing some testing of rules, situations, and other things for the NFL. They're going to kind of be a petri dish for the NFL to experiment different things, whether it be overtime rules, whether it be other things. The XFL and the NFL have a partnership, and the USFL seems to have recently taken some umbrage with this, as it was learned that the USFL's players' contracts cover over 1 year with another year option. So they cover 1 year with a 1 year option. Thus, the USFL can choose to squat any or some players for all of 2023, keeping them away from the XFL. And that could mean that the USFL will just be like, hey, we're going to pick up these players' options, even though we might not even want them, just so the XFL does not either get them and these players don't develop in there, which personally I think is bad for football, but we'll get into that in a second. Mike Florio actually went on to say that there is enough room in football for two spring football leagues. Obviously, we know that gambling has gotten bigger. We know that interest in football in spring is really high, especially I think coming out of this past season where we saw some of the best NFL football ever. And look at what the XFL was doing back in 2020. The XFL in 2020 was a rating success for the 6-7 weeks they were around. They were a success, and I'm not trying to be hyperbolic about this. I'm not trying to make it something out that it wasn't. It truly was a success. Everyone was happy with the ratings. The people were watching the games were engaging, so there's room for it. And you put gambling on top of that, especially sports gambling nowadays with FanDuel and all the different ways you can do it in all the states that it's legal in. It's going to make a huge impact, and I think both of these leagues can thrive and survive, but I understand why the USFL, from a business standpoint, would want to maybe sit players or exercise these options, even if they're not going to play these players. But I do think for the sport of pro football, it's not good, because that means that if you're just going to, that means you are doing that for the wrong reasons. You're not opting into these players for the sake of your teams, for the sake of competition, for the sake of your league. You're doing so just to try to hurt the other league. No, if you want to hurt the other league, or if you want to prove that you're better than the other league, have the better players. Have better players, develop better players, and if you're the USFL and you are supposed to be the best spring football league out there, the best alternative to the NFL out there, well, what do? Actually focus on how you can do that. Develop players, pick the good ones to stick around, and if people don't work out and you can't develop them, and you think you can't develop them, get rid of them. Trust your own judgment. This is exactly the opposite of what you should be doing. And it's not like the USFL has a lot of leg to stand on. It's not like, they're the prominent industry leader in spring football. Because if we're being honest, right now, I'm pretty sure the XFL has a little more clout than the USFL. Even though the USFL, I know they've had these commercials. I know that everyone's making this big hoopla about the return and all that. People are excited about the USFL. I'm excited about it as well. But I do think that focusing on how to hurt the XFL is not good for them, especially going into their first season, because we know how spring football leagues work out. Because they haven't recently. The AAF was an utter catastrophe, disaster. The football wasn't even good. The XFL was good up until the pandemic hit. Unpredictable events. It literally took an act of God to destroy the XFL that time, but they're coming back next year. But I really would hope that the USFL owners or whoever's in charge of these players, I really would hope that they wouldn't be making roster decisions based completely on the XFL and how it might help them, but rather for the good of their teams and for the good of their league. Because honestly, if more people are interested in spring football, that's a good thing, because more people are conditioned to watch football, and you can kind of gain that audience in these different markets that you're in. So there's a lot of upside to it. I really hope that we come to a point where the XFL and the USFL, I don't even say a partnership, like there probably shouldn't be a partnership, but I really do hope we come to a point where it's like the XFL and the USFL are kind of like the spring version of college and the NFL, not much so in like the level of play, or the amateur versus professional leagues, both professional leagues, just at different times, and offering a little something different to various fans. I think that can be a good thing. You can be excited for both. Look, we're excited for college football and the NFL during the regular season. Why can't we do the same with the XFL and the USFL? I think more football is good. I think it's better for everyone involved, honestly, and I think we should want it to succeed. So if we're all fans of football, let's hope that eventually the pettiness or the alleged pettiness doesn't happen or won't happen, and let's just get to football, man. Hey everyone, we hope you liked this video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Until next time, keep it real.